Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Do I have one heck of an upload for you? Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? Before we jump into some more just astonishing and truly spine-chilling information from David, who was a former Roman Catholic priest, I'd like to share something with you that I'm guessing many of you have seen. And if you haven't, I want to kind of get your take on it, because if it is real, it is truly terrifying. So the photo that you are seeing right now, if the science behind it is true, this is an absolutely terrifying photo. I saw this photo a couple days ago, yesterday I believe, and no, 2 days ago, excuse me, on ancient history. And once again, if the science backs this, we're screwed. Here is the article that goes along with the photo. In an astonishing discovery, images captured by the James Webb Space Telescope revealed what appears to be a creature moving on the surface of Mars. The images, analyzed by NASA experts and independent astronomers, show a strange and unidentified silhouette near a rock formation in the region of Valles Marineris, one of the solar system's largest canyons. The creature, which measures about 2 meters long, appears to have elongated limbs and a body structure unlike anything already recorded on the red planet. The scientific community is divided between treating the finding as an unusual geological phenomena or considering the possibility of primitive or even intelligent Martian life. While space agencies have not yet officially spoken on this nature of this figure, the debate on extraterrestrial life returns to the spotlight. Fueling deeper theories and research, James Webb, once again, shows his power to reveal the unknown. So if this is real, and that is on Mars, I truly believe that these things that we know as certain cryptids, I haven't really theorized that much about Dogman or Bigfoot. Crawler, yes. I believe the crawler is a demonic creation. I believe the Draconian, the Greys, I believe they are demons with the ability to use portals to wherever. But if this is real, those leg muscles, that is a quadruped with a tail. Those leg muscles are friggin' huge. You can see a rib cage. Imagine that thing coming out of a portal. Imagine. And I thought about that. And it brought me back to an experience that I've shared here about a hunter, a Ute native hunter, sitting in the Uinta Basin. It's like midday. He's tired. He's been hunting all day. Just wants to sit and get a break. As he's sitting on this kind of embankment or hill, looking out at the basin, he sees this kind of black portal, black hole just form down in the middle of the basin there, and about 3.5 feet off the ground, and this just whatever kind of creature just drops out of it. It does this weird kind of stretch, and then just books it through the basin. He's sitting there watching this whole time, and then the portal just closes right back up. He's sitting there watching it the whole time, praying that this thing doesn't see him or turn around and come at him. It didn't see him, but it continued to go away from him. And he said it did not look like a Dogman. It did not look like a Bigfoot. It did not look like anything of this earth. If this is what we have to deal with, we are screwed. All right, so I do not know and understand how people can deny any of what we talk about. People deny deny the existence of Nephilim, deny the existence of Bigfoot, Dogman, crawlers, UFOs, aliens alike, flying humanoids. When Native American petroglyphs and hieroglyphs and Egyptian petroglyphs, hieroglyphs, South American, all over the world, even European, drawings, ancient drawings, reflect creatures like this. And it never ceases to amaze me how close-minded truly the world is. It's a percentage, and a very small percentage of us that know that these things exist. I'm going to start off the day, with something that he shared with me about the Nephilim and the angels, the fallen angels. So, biblical. Enoch was Noah's grandfather, and he was the seventh man from Adam. This places the book of Enoch as being around 5,500 years old. Enoch was born 622 years after the creation of Adam, and that makes the book of Enoch one of the oldest books on planet Earth. In this, we will look at some of the text provided in the book of Enoch, where we can find very interesting things, speaking of the fallen angels, the Nephilim, the product of an ancient myth, or the truth written down thousands of years ago. The book of Enoch is described as an ancient Jewish religious work ascribed by tradition to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Modern scholars estimate the older sections, mainly the Book of Watchers, to date from 300 BC, and the latest part, the Book of Parables, probably to the 1st century BC. First part of the Book of Enoch describes the fall of the Watchers, the angels who fathered the Nephilim. The remainder of the book describes Enoch's visits to heaven and in form of travels, visions, dreams, and his revelations. The book is made up of 5 major sections, which are the Book of Watcher, 1 Enoch 1 through 36, the Book of Parables of Enoch, 1 Enoch 37 through 71, also called the Similatitudes of Enoch, the Astronomical Book, 1 Enoch 72 through 82, also called the Book of the Heavenly Luminarius, or the Book of the Luminaries, the Book of Dream Visions, 1 Enoch 83 through 90, the Book of Dreams, the Epistle of Enoch, 1 Enoch 91 through 108. But the contents of the book completely changed modern religion and history, mainly because of its controversial content. Is it possible that we have overlooked ancient texts such as the Book of Enoch? Is it possible that these texts speak the truth of what happened to mankind in the distant past? If so, why have we chosen to ignore these ancient texts? Because they do not seem to fit into our mainstream. Many authors agree that based on numerous ancient texts, we can conclude the Nephilim could have been the ancient alien species. Which, I say this all the time. I truly believe that these aliens quite possibly could be angels, more so demonic. I think the Watchers, after falling from God's grace, that's when the evil kind of took over, and they became something that they were not, I don't know and I don't believe a angel could become a demon. It's possible. It is possible. There is writings of that, but a seraphim becoming a demon is a whole different. So that lived on earth in the distant past, even though this is an extremely controversial notion for mainstream scholars who firmly oppose it. According to several ancient texts, it's possible to conclude that the Nephilim were in fact mysterious beings that dominated over the planet before the Great Flood. In many ancient texts, they are referred to as giants, and some ancient texts suggest these mysterious beings are in fact the descendants of the fallen angels. However, despite many scholars trying to comprehend what the Nephilim were, there is considerable confusion sounding these mysterious beings, which, according to ancient texts, were real and inhabited the earth in the distant past. There isn't doubt whether or not these beings were real. The only question that surrounds them is the actual origin and legacy. Enoch 6, 1 through 3. And it came to pass, when the children of men had multiplied, in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. Enoch 10, 3 through 8. And I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord of majesty, and the King of ages, and lo, the Watchers called me, Enoch the scribe, and said to me, Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go, declare the Watchers of the heaven, who have left the high heavens, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as children on earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace nor forgiveness of sin. And inasmuch as they delight themselves in their children, the Nephilim, the murder of their beloved ones shall they see, and over the destruction of their children shall they lament, and shall make supplication unto eternity. But mercy and peace shall ye not attain. Enoch 1 through 6. And all the others together with them took upon themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them and defile themselves with them. And they became pregnant and bare great giants, whose heights was 3,000 ells, or 450 feet. We consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Chapter 8, 1. And Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of anatomy, and the beautifying of eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones and coloring tinctures. 2. And there arose the godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all of their ways. Semjizah taught enchantments, root cuttings, aromos, the resolving of enchantments. Bera Quilja taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezekiel, not Ezekiel, but Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Eriquil, the signs of earth. Shamasil, the signs of the sun. Serel, the course of the moon. And as man perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. 19. And Uriel said to me, Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits assuming many different forms. They're defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made in the end. And women also of angels who went astray shall become sirens. So after reading these, is it possible that there is truth to this? Is it possible that these so-called fallen angels did in fact exist in the distant past? Is it possible that the Nephilim did live amongst humans? If so, we can ask, why have we chosen to ignore ancient man's recording of so perfectly in the past? These watchers and the Nephilim were not only in the book of Enoch, they were briefly discussed in the Bible, but they were discussed obviously in the Old Testament. In the Jewish Midrash, in Enoch, Book of Jubilees, the second Enoch, Testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, Genesis 6, and how can you, with all of those books, historic books, doubt something? And we know that because in the Book of Giants, the Book of Giants is interesting because it reflects almost what the Nephilim were thinking. In one of the I don't know what to call it, one of the writings, and they were having visions where they knew they were going to be taken out. They had dreams. More dreams afflicted the giants. The details of these visions are obscure, but it bodies ill for the giants. The dreamers, the giants, speak first to the monsters, then to the giants. So the monsters Is that what these Nephilim and Watchers created? Because not only did the Watchers create and genetically manipulate with animals to create centaurs, dogmen, Bigfoot, wouldn't they be considered monsters? To me, that makes sense, you know? So how can we deny these? And then how can we deny the existence of portals? Just like in Hunt for Skinwalker, or Skinwalker at the Pentagon, the second book, where Jonathan Axelrod talks about, after investigating, 3 naval intelligence officers investigated the Nimitz Tic Tacs. And interestingly enough, now they are saying they were created by Lockheed. Yeah, okay. Just like Mike Baker, former CIA agent, states that if in fact Lockheed did create these Tic Tacs, we, the civilization, the population, would know that these things existed, but they weren't created by man, those Tic Tacs. And then even if they were, why and how did those 3 naval intelligence officers go to Skinwalker Ranch? Afterward, they go back to their homes in Virginia. They are plagued by dogmen. Their children, their wives are plagued by dogmen outside of their homes. Their kids are walking to school and see one, a dogman. Plagued by shadow men, shadow people, plagued by orbs. One, Axelrod's best friend, his wife, got hit by an orb and became deathly ill. We're going to deny that this exists when all of this is here. And then we get into the portal business. First and foremost, I'm going to share with you one of the most important people in bringing portals to our knowledge, Duncan Cameron. Who was Duncan Cameron? The story of Duncan Cameron Jr. is a confusing one. According to the authors of the book, The Montauk Project, Duncan was a sailor aboard the USS Eldridge when the Philadelphia experiment was conducted. The experiment resulted in his being catapulted forward into time to arrive at Montauk Base in 1983. He then became involved in the Montauk Project and was bounced about the time stream before being returned to 1943 in an attempt to stop the experiment that started it all. Confused? We haven't even got started. To try and explain Duncan's confusing life, it would probably take another 1,000 pages. Text most people wouldn't care to even read or listen to. Best opinion is to sum it up. His amazing adventures through space and time as follows. 1943, Duncan and his brother Edward were stationed aboard the Eldridge. They worked in the control room that housed many of the experimental generators used to power the Tesla coils that created the electromagnetic fields around the ship. Since they were deep inside the ship, protected by layers of steel shielding, Duncan and Edward were untouched by the horrible side effects that ravaged the rest of the crew. The first actual experiment conducted on the Eldridge apparently took place July 20th, 1943. At this time, the ship vanished from sight for 15 minutes. The fields created made many crewmen nauseous and gave psychological problems to others. The second test was then set for August 12th with the object to obtain radar invisibility and not optical invisibility. According to the authors of the Montauk Project, 3 UFOs appeared over the ship 6 days before August 12th. When the test was conducted, one of these UFOs was sucked through the resulting hole in time and space and ended up underground the Montauk base. When August 12th test was conducted, the two brothers were once again in the control room. For a short time, the first 5 minutes or so, the test seemed to be working as planned. Then the ship vanished from sight. Duncan and Edward could see that the experiment was failing due to the effects on the other crewmen. They tried to shut down the various generators and transmitters, but nothing seemed to be working. They then decided the safest course of action was to abandon ship. Jumping overboard, they fell through the time tunnel and ended up at Montauk, the year 1983. Found by members of the project, the two brothers were then escorted into one of the buildings on the base, where they met Dr. John von Neumann. The men who had been behind many aspects of the project since '43, he informed them that he had been waiting for the two to appear, and that Duncan and Edward needed to return to 1943 to turn off the generators and end the experiment being conducted on the Eldridge. Both Duncan and Edward agreed to this plan, making a number of time trips from Montauk researchers before returning for good in '43. Finally, the brothers appeared on the Eldridge and managed to shut off the generators, mainly by smashing transmitters and cutting any cables they could. Just before the Eldridge returned to its proper place in the time stream, Duncan went back through the time portal and returned to Montauk in 1983. It is unknown why he did so, although it is suggested that he may have been programmed to. Once in '83 for good, Duncan found himself severed from the time stream. He grew old at a fantastic rate and began to die from the effects of extreme aging. Using unspecified techniques, the Montauk scientists managed to save Duncan by transferring his mind or signature to a new body. This new body was obtained through the help of Duncan Cameron Sr., the father of Duncan Jr., and Edward. Using the time portal, Montauk personnel contacted Duncan Sr. in '47, informing him of their need to save his son's life. The solution was for Duncan Sr. to have another son. 1951, the second Duncan Cameron Jr. was born. In 1963, when this Duncan was 12, the Montauk scientists transferred the old Duncan's mind into the child's body. This forced the second Duncan out, a fate that remains unexplained. Meanwhile, Edward remained with the Eldridge. The final test was on the run with the ship in October of '43. This experiment used an unmanned vessel with all controls located on a secondary ship. After the test, it was discovered that a large amount of the equipment was missing, including transmitters and generators. The experiment was then abandoned for good. Edward continued on with his naval career afterward, becoming involved in a number of experiments dealing with free energy vehicles and devices. At some point, he was made to forget all he had seen and done in connection to the Philadelphia experiment. Edward's final fate may be even more bizarre than his brother's. He was apparently put through a series of age restraints, series of age regression procedures, and reduced him to the age of a small infant. He was then sent to live with the Bellick family to replace their baby boy, who had recently passed. Given the name Al Bellick, he grew up ignorant of his true past until certain events in the late '80s triggered his memories. He now devotes his time to researching the experiment in an attempt to uncover the truth. Then, it was important to learn who Duncan was, because then, on August 5th, 1983, we're given a directive to run the transmitter nonstop. This is Duncan. simply turn it on and let it run continuously. We followed the orders, but nothing out of the ordinary occurred until August 12th. Then something very strange happened. Suddenly the equipment seemed to fail and fall into tune with something else. We didn't know what function the system was tuned to, but at that moment the USS Eldridge apparently appeared through a portal. We had locked ourselves in with the Eldridge. I'm not sure if this was pure coincidence, but if the Montauk researchers were trying to connect with the Eldridge, the attempt had been made on this exact date. This is because the 20-year biorhythms of planet Earth, which was a discovery made in the process of these experiments, and the Eldridge experiment occurred August 12, 1943. At this point, the 43 Duncan appeared and could even see through the time portal, along with his own brother. Both were crewmen on the Eldridge. We prevented the 1983 Duncan from seeing himself in order to avoid a time paradox and the resulting negative effects. The program had already reached apocalyptic proportions. Natural laws were being violated, and it seemed everyone involved was uncomfortable. 3 colleagues and I had been privately expressing our misgivings about the project for a period of months. We had discussed the difficulties and dangers of dealing with time and how it may affect the planet's karma. We expected the project to just fizzle out on its own. According to our small faction, created a contingency program that only Duncan could activate. It was designed to collapse the entire project. We finally decided we had had enough of the whole experiment. The contingency program was activated by someone approaching Duncan while he was in a chair and simply whispering, "The time is now." At this moment, he unleashed a monster from his subconscious. The transmitter actually interpreted it as a hairy monster. It was large, hairy, hungry, and nasty, but it did not appear underground at ground zero. It showed itself somewhere in the base. It would eat anything it could find, and it wrecked everything in sight. Several people saw it, but almost all described it as different. It was either 9 to 30 feet, depending on who saw it. Personally, I believe it was about 9 to 10 feet. Fear does strange things to people, and no one was sure of the exact physical makeup of this creature. No one was in any frame of mind that could calmly and collectively analyze its exact date and nature. So here's something I'm surprised that nobody thought about or even talks about. Is on August 12th when everything proceeded to happen, right? A UFO got pulled into that time portal. It didn't go anywhere except underground, right? It went under the base itself, supposedly, right? What if this creature, this monster, in fact came from the UFO? It wasn't summoned, so to say, but it was already there. And summoned, yes. But, to me, sitting in this Montauk chair, you've got a dude sitting in the chair like this, right? And he's got these like transistors and wires and shit all over him, and he's thinking about, a monster. And boom, there's a monster, right? But there's a whole bunch more going to and going around and everything else. And wouldn't it be just like a summoning? Like those occultists, Crawley, summoning Lame, people summoning these demons. It would be the same exact thing, except science is involved instead of some sort of spiritual belief. Does that mean science is spiritually connected? Or spiritual beliefs are connected to science? I think so. I mean, I think it's all connected. But it makes sense to me that this thing that was in the UFO, it was there, you know? Or a summoning was done by using, instead of using the powers of, you know, multiple people to summon a demon or whatever, instead of that occurring, it was by magnifying the thoughts and everything else by the experimentees. So I just thought that was rather interesting. My supervisor gave the order to shut down the generators in order to stop any type of phenomenon that occurred. This didn't work, so it was decided the thing had to be stopped. It was described it was decided that the transmitter had to be shut down. Efforts were made in that direction. One was to send someone back and have them shut down the transmitter on Eldridge. They would be crushed if it was what was necessary to shut it down. The other effort was by myself and the project manager. We tried unsuccessfully to shut down the transmitter at Montauk. Then we went to a power station, disconnected the Long Island Lightning Company base. The power kept running. Nothing stopped. We weren't worried about the lights. We just wanted to stop the transmitter. We decided the next best thing to do was to go to the power plant and cut the wires leading to the ground of the large transformer. I put an acetylene torch on my back and cut the wires going to the ground. I had to be careful because they were hot. However, nothing happened. The lights on the base stayed on, controlled by the UFO. That makes sense to me. We went into the building and pulled the wires out of the panel that controlled the transmitter. Then the wires from the transmitter itself, the lights in the building went out, but the one at the transmitter stayed on. Then I went up and cut the equipment into pieces. I cut the conduits. I cut the cabinets. Finally, I cut far enough so the transmitter just whined and stopped. All the lights went out. We had made it. Today, we can see still the torch marks that we had cut the things apart. It was at this point that the animal stopped moving and was lost again into the ether. The portal closed, and that was the end of the episode. After we stopped the transmitter, the things calmed down. It dawned on us what had happened. When we first flipped the switches at the power plant, none of the lights on the base went on or out. There was no power coming into the base. When I cut the lines going into the transmitter building, the rest of the base shut down, including the computers. However, the transmitters continued running without computers. The system had actually gone into a free power mode. 2 systems, 2 generators, one in 1943 aboard the Eldridge, one in Montauk in 1983, 40 years apart, were locked together. There was an enormous amount of power bouncing between the 2 generators. With so much power between them, all the electrical circuits that were connected remained active. The lights stayed on. More importantly, the generators established a connection from 83 to 43. By bouncing the power between the 2 time periods, a stable vortex was created. This served as an anchor. Using the vortex, a time tunnel could then be projected to a specific point and time. For example, if one wanted to go from 83 to 93, the 83 to 43 vortex would have been functioning to serve as an anchor. The project to 93, or any chosen point in time, would come from the end of 83 vortex. For example, if one wanted to go to 83 to 93, if one wanted to go to 1923, one would have to project through the end of 43 vortex. The time between 43 and 83 would be reached by passing through either end of the vortex. Dates after 63 were accessed through 83. The dates before 63 were accessed through 43. This is not to say that all time travel would have been done this way using a master vortex in 43 to 83. During these experimenters, no generators were found, either in the past nor future, that could be linked and establish a vortex of nature. There are, of course, many generators around, but the successful link had been created. A link required a witness effect. Witnesses is the occult term. A noun, it refers to an object that is connected or related to someone or something. For example, a lock of someone's hair or a picture can serve as a witness. As a verb, witness means to use of an object to enter a person's consciousness or otherwise have affect them. An example of a bystander effect would be someone taking a lock of hair, using it in a love potion, and making the owner of the hair fall in love. While Montauk Project, there were 3 witness effects. These could be thought of as different levels of a witness. The first level consisted of physical people actually aboard the Eldridge. Any surviving crew members were fine. Any surviving crew members they could find were brought to Montauk for the experiment in 83. This also included personnel who were considered to have been reincarnated from the Philadelphia experiment. Duncan and Al Bellick were both there and were 2 of the key witnesses. The second level of witnessing had to do with technology. The zero time reference generator, previously referred to as a merry-go-round, used aboard the Eldridge, was also used at Montauk. When the Eldridge was finally decommissioned in 46, the merry-go-round was placed in storage. It was eventually brought to Montauk, incorporated into the system there. After the strange events, August 12, 1983, Montauk Base was virtually empty. Power was restored, but the lights remained on, and everything was disarrayed. Most of the personnel were eventually rounded up, interrogated, and subsequently brainwashed. Interesting. The people I talked to knew there were secret plans, but didn't know exactly what they were. Upon closing the project down and all of this, that one creature that was in the base just dematerialized or vanished or whatever happened to it. No, there's not. It just ceased to exist. But Black Berets came in and cleaned up the mess of the Montauk. I believe Black Berets are Army Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. In 2001, Rangers stopped wearing Black Berets. So in 83, Army Rangers would have came in and cleaned up, which makes sense. You would need a very equipped team, a team to come in, carry out orders, and not hesitate. It makes sense to me. So you have all of these Black Berets coming in. But during the process of them cleaning up the base in 83, there were these other hairy creatures running around this base. Dogmen. There are old tunnels and chambers still in and around Montauk that still to this day people have claimed to see these things. I've had a subscriber share his own experience that they saw Dogman. And during that period of time on there, as they were doing like urban exploration, United States Army or a kind of security force came in and threatened them, shut these things down, whatever. It's all connected. Like, how do you deny that? How do you deny it? You can't. You cannot deny it. And then to have now the government saying, hey, after we know for a fact, we don't know for a fact, but it's published in the book, Skinwalker in the Pentagon, was approved by the United States government. So they discuss Dogman, orbs, and shadow people. Did anyone ever think about Dogman, orbs, and shadow people? Yes, Dogman and orbs connection. Boom. We've kind of all known about that. Even Bigfoot and orbs. But shadow people and Dogman? U.S. government using these things as whatever, possibly using them. I think they use them to quiet Axelrod. And then after the book gets published, like 10, 15 years later, after the investigation's done, now they're going to come out and say, Lockheed Martin is responsible for the Tic Tacs. Bullshit. If there was a propulsion engine capable of doing that, no one can keep a secret that long. And just like Mike Baker said in an interview with Joe Rogan, you don't think China would have discovered it yet? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, they would have. It's all connected. It's all there. Puzzle pieces are coming together. We're going to have answers. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go. And what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.